Hey Brett, thanks for joining me for a chat. How's it going?
It's good, mate. I'm just coming back from Fraser Island. Been up there holidaying with the misso the last 3 days, so it's been
Gee,
great.
mate, lucky for some. What's Fraser Island looking like right now? Bet it's hot.
We actually had pretty bad storms the first couple of nights, but we were lucky enough that during the day it was pretty sunny, so we were able to go to Lake Mackenzie and Eli Creek and do some four-wheel driving, which was pretty cool.
Mate, living the dream. I'm going for dinner tonight. First time in 6, 7 months in a restaurant. Pretty excited, nervous, supporting your local, but yeah, it's gonna be an experience. So I'm excited about that. We won't dawdle about COVID too much, but we'll get
Yeah,
straight into probably we went head to head last year. We'll start
yeah,
there.
we did.
Yeah, head to head in Papua New Guinea, the
Yep.
old famous PNG Open.
Yep.
Geez, let's talk about that week. You obviously played really well in the first
Yep.
event. Um,
Yep.
yeah, let's go there.
Yeah, sweet. Yeah, it was a good week. You certainly made it interesting for me that last round. Like I think I don't even remember what I had. Was it 6 or 7 shot lead or something? 5, 6, 7 shot lead on you? Or was it
Yeah,
on you or someone else? Or
no, it was me. It was me. You had definitely had it was a 4 or 5 shot lead, and I was thinking,
yeah,
let's just try get second place outright because the payout's a
yeah,
lot better than third. So you've
yeah,
got to kind of lock that up straight away. And if I can
yeah,
get near
100%.
him going into the back nine, he might do something silly. But
Yeah, who knows what
if you want to talk about that back nine, that was pretty fun, wasn't it?
it was fun. Like I felt like I played pretty decent that front nine. I think I might have been one under or whatever it was, maybe two under. But I think you played really well that front nine. Maybe close
Mm,
it down a couple of
hmm
shots, maybe 2 or 3 shots.
mm.
Um, I do remember bogeying the par three. Is that 14?
14. Yes. You like
Yeah,
stubbed a chip or
14.
something. I think it might have been.
Yeah, I hit, I think, a poor chip. I missed the green left when you should never miss that green left. It's no good over there.
Yep.
I think you made birdie or a par, and then all of a sudden, I think it might have been one shot difference.
One or
Was it
two
one or
shot.
two?
Yeah, we kind of got around that border fence at PNG where you've just
Yeah.
got to kind of hit your drive and quickly get on so people don't jump the fence or anything.
Yeah, because all the locals are watching, and you're like, oh, who's going to jump the fence to try and steal something or mug me?
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
there's some stories about that. People running across and stealing your caddies. Sometimes maybe someone takes your club or they trade it for something. It's yeah,
yeah, for
crazy.
sure.
We were
There
pretty
was
lucky.
one of the first few years, maybe the first or second year up there, they had the local police in a car chase with some locals, and they were firing M16s
No
on that
way.
road. Players were like down on their knees, like on the ground, like just like covering themselves because
Oh
they're just
wow.
firing M16s at these locals who've obviously stolen something or done something pretty bad.
Wow. Yeah, it was. That's crazy because yeah, I remember that there was one guy on the 15th hole after the short par four, and he had like a bow and arrow or something, and he just like if people run across it because they had little holes in the fence and stuff. It's like I don't know. It reminded me a lot of South America, especially they're trading,
Oh,
trying to give you fruit and all this other stuff. I really enjoyed it, but yeah, we got close there. I think I was one or two behind with 2 holes to go. In the par three, you hold a ridiculous putt for birdie. I think it might have been.
that's right. I hit my approach shot into the bunker and it was plugged.
Yeah, that's right.
And I was like, oh, this is the last thing I need right now. Just make me three and move to the last. But yeah, I think I hit my bunker shot maybe about 10 or 12 feet past the hole on that green and I rolled it in.
Oh, the
And
green
I,
sloped like
yeah,
10%
it's
down.
just ridiculous. Like, and once it starts bouncing down the hill and you just got no chance of holding it.
Yeah.
Somehow rolled that in. I think that gave me 2 or 3 shot lead then going down the last. I just remember the last hole being really easy because I was like, basically make bogey, you'll be fine. So
Perfect. Yeah, well, I tried to run you down, didn't quite get there, but I had a good week. I think I actually got lucky in the Calcutta. Someone actually purchased me for nothing, and we ended up winning the Calcutta. And the guy gave me a couple. I'm trying to remember what the currency is called. Is it what's it called again? It's called
Kina.
Kina. That's right. Yeah. Well, it was raining Kina that night, but it was it's cool that that pro am they run. It's the Morobe Open, I should say, and then you go into the PNG Open.
In lay. I'm just going to turn the light on, mate. 'Cause it's pretty dark in this room.
No, you're right. It's a it's definitely an interesting week to do. It's a lot like a pro-am we play normally in all the Australian amateurs, like or not the Australian pro-am kind of thing. So it's a lot more relaxed than, obviously going into the next week where it's like the 4 round, everyone's kind of doing their own thing. And
Yeah, it's pretty good because you want to keep. It's good they do it in groups of threes too, and it keeps the day short because it's so hot up there, right? So you go out, you swing the club 5 times on nets, and you're sweating. So it's kind of like just want to get out there, do my job, get inside into the fan or the aircon, and drink heaps of water. So you don't really want long days, and they do a pretty good job at it over there in Lay. They're all about the tournament. They live for it. So it's always
yeah,
one of the fun weeks. It's just disappointing we can't go over and play and support them. Actually, the guy I stay with, Steady, who does all the money for the pros,
yes, that's right.
he's been sending me some messages lately. I was like, oh, how's it over there for COVID? He's like, what's COVID?
What's COVID?
He's like, mate, there's nothing here. Like you wouldn't even know.
Yeah.
Nothing's changed. Life is normal. It's like, oh man. It's
Well,
like I wish the world was like that.
yeah, well, I guess once they kind of lock down the borders and stuff, if the islands didn't get it, they didn't get it, and they just go on like normal. I think a lot of my friends and family in Perth, it's been like that over there. COVID's it happened for a week, and it's back to
Yeah,
normal and thriving.
yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? But I still don't feel like we're anywhere near the end of this. Like the US has still got crazy cases. I think their cases are improving every day, like increasing every day. Just who knows when this is going to stop, man? I just don't see an end to it in the next 12 months.
Yeah, it's hard to remain positive, especially because they're breaking records every day for amount, and they've got a upcoming election. And I
Mm.
just saw France and Germany went into complete lockdown again. So it's very it's an interesting time. I'm glad we're in Australia though, but it's just
Yeah,
another
I
day.
am. We're doing a pretty good job here, I think. Like besides Victoria and the security stuff up, I think that's basically where it's all come from. It's all stemmed from. So
Yeah, it's funny actually. Obviously being here, you kind of hear what is being portrayed outside and what's actually kind of because Dan Andrews is actually doing like a press conference every day. It's really quite entertaining to watch just how he's um going into the reporters because he's obviously got to know them a lot better than like over the last 6 months. So he's really got to know how they are, what they're trying to answer. So he's really passive aggressive in my opinion. He's really just heckling these reporters. But yeah, that hotel bungle, that's gonna until all the evidence comes out, it's just gonna which I think is gonna go on for a little bit longer. Then we'll know the true story was actually happened. But in the end, it's you're relying on people to do the right thing, which is kind of the whole story.
um, yeah, it's always the minority that ruin it for the majority, isn't it?
Bloody buggers, bloody buggers. Anyways, enough COVID talk. I'm
Yeah,
sure,
yeah. Let's get back to PNG.
I'm sure we'll be talking about this for the next 2 years or whenever we get
Yeah,
a vaccine. But I remember when you won actually up at the Morobe, you were talking about this was going to fund my European Tour Q school, and you got
yeah,
your eyes set on that. You've been a pro for I think you said was it 10 years now? You've been a pro.
yeah. To the end of 2010, I turned. So yeah, this is my 10th year. Is that
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, ninth year last year, 10th year this year. So yeah, you're going up to UK and Europe and going to play the Q school over there. And you said this would pay for all that trip, and it's obviously expensive with the euro and the pound and all that other stuff. And yeah, and following your progress with that, how challenging Q schools are. They're just a
No, they're
nightmare.
ruthless. Mate,
Yeah.
it's ruthless. A lot of people don't realize how stressful it is, especially if you don't have um, anyone backing you or funding your Q skills, right? Because at the end of the day, if you don't play well and you don't get a card, the money that you've spent to go there, you can basically dig a hole, bury the money, and just forget where it was. Like it's just throwing money away. So it's
Mm,
not only is it a lot of stress, the financial side of things, but then it's also really stressful to peak for 1 week of the year. Like because
mm,
when you think about it, when you're going, you got 3 stages to get through. The first stage is the most important stage because if you don't play well there, there is no second stage and there is no final stage. So
mm,
and it's like in golf, it's really, really difficult to peak for 1 week.
mm,
Like a lot of things have got to come together for you to peak 1 week. It's really difficult well, I find it very difficult. I usually play well on the back of a bunch of events. I don't just come out of practicing for 2 or 3 weeks and then have it. So I gain a lot of confidence out of playing well, and then I sort of get on a ride, and then I'll go off. I'm off and running, sort of thing.
It's interesting you say that because most Q schools are first week of September, first week of October, right around just out of our winter. We've played no events for 4 months, so ideally the best Q schools for us would be March, April, May. Obviously,
Yeah, April would probably be the best time for us because we finished with all our tour events here in Australia, and like in September you are on the back of playing a lot of pro-ams.
But it's so different to 4-round Q school
it's
events.
nothing like a 4-round tournament. And by the end of those 3-4 months, if you play a lot of pro-ams, you're probably a bit mentally fried because they're long days. Right, you're playing with new people all the time. You're trying to entertain them, and then you've got the functions at the back of those pro-ams as well. So, I've just always found it very difficult to peak for that 1 week. And last year, I obviously didn't because I played pretty poorly and didn't get through first stage, which was really disappointing because I felt like I was actually playing pretty well going into it. I think that wasn't long after I won in Darwin either.
Yeah, it was just a couple of weeks after Darwin because I remember speaking to you in Darwin saying, going over there and because there's a bit of a gap if you can get in like enough exemption to get through to second stage, you can kind of go back-to-back weeks with second stage and final. So that's normally always the goal I think most of the players are aiming for. So if you do need to go to first stage, there's a bit of a gap and you do need to try peak. It's funny, like you don't really see a formula on how to peak for a golf event. Like no one's ever really like they teach you how to. They don't teach you. That's probably the wrong phrase, but they recommend that you kind of do like a couple of weeks training, play a couple of tester events, and then you peak on the 5th week. That's kind of
It's a bit of a blurry template that they try and give you, but everyone is so different, right? Some people need a lot of reps. Some people don't need a lot of reps. It's just such a hard thing to try and get on top of, or just I don't know. Yeah, get on top of. Like you look at Tiger, for example. No one knows how to peak their game as well as he does over his whole career, and that's what's made him so successful, right? And probably the greatest of all time is because how many times do you see him go away for 4-6 weeks and he'll come back and then he'll win in his prime? Like he'll peak so well. But for majority, 99.9% of golfers in the world, it's very difficult to peak, especially for 1 week. Like that's what makes majors so difficult. It's just golf, right? It's really difficult to be able to do that.
It's like using Tiger as an example does he have that aspect of peaking at 1 week because his training sessions are just so out of control? Like you hear stories of what he does, like he, trains like a SAS, Navy SEAL, and obviously backed off a lot of that stuff now with his running because his body's just a bit fragile. He's had a couple of injuries on the way, but he's a little bit broken, but does that help him propel himself into peaking? Maybe maybe we're just not training hard enough, or the level of pressure, but it is hard to emulate that tour, like us playing that back nine at Morobe Open. Like if you could practice in that climate, you'd be such a better player, but it's hard to recreate that on an everyday basis. And
especially in Australia, like we just don't have enough tour events to be able to go. Like we're lucky to play 13, 15 tour events a year, right? Whereas you get Europe and the US, most guys are playing 25 to 30 events a year, which is like half the year where they're competing at a high level. Whereas, we play 13 or 15 tour events, then we play a lot of pro-ams where you're not really playing with other pros. So you're not really in a stressful environment that you would get during an Aussie Open or an Aussie PGA or even a Queensland Open or whatever it is. So you just got to find ways, right?
Yeah. It's you've kind of got to, especially in Australia, because we only have, a handful of events, 4-rounders, it's kind of diminishing at the moment, but you have to fill your schedule with so many pro-am weeks, and they are very exhausting. Arguably you're a great pro-am player. You've been up there for a few years now, top 3. Kind of got to share that top 5 little spectrum with you and Timmy Hart last year, but how have you prepared differently for like pro-ams over, 4-round events? Are you just a bit more relaxed, or is it just kind of going out there trying to have a good day?
Yeah, I think I'm probably just more relaxed, and pro-am golf from a mental point of view, I find it's easier to free will it in a pro-am. Because if it's especially a one-day pro-am, like if you play poorly, so be it, whatever. It doesn't affect the next day, right? But if you can get it going and you play well, then you can make some really good money on that one day, and then you start again. But you can also gain a lot of momentum from playing well in that one day. Whereas I find in pro-ams, like I might have a bit of an off day, and then it's a new day the next day. It doesn't matter how if the day before was pretty poor, I feel like I can switch it and go, oh, well, whatever. Yesterday was a pro-am, whatever. Like I'll just reset it to tomorrow and I'll be fine. So, but there's a lot more stress involved with a 4-day event because every shot counts, right? And every round counts. There's no hiding. So whereas you play pro-ams, you can kind of hide sometimes.
Yeah, you're 71 or 72 on a Thursday, puts you a long way out of the event. And, a tough little run on the front nine there on Friday, you could easily miss the cut. It's that simple,
Yeah, 100%. Like best way to describe pro-ams is if you've got four one-day pro-ams in a row, you could shoot 66, 66, 82, 68, and you could probably win 3 of them.
Yeah, absolutely.
You shoot 80 in a 4-day event, you're done. You're not finishing top 10. You're not finishing top 20, right? Doesn't matter what you did in those other 3 rounds. So it's just less stressful, I find. But it definitely started to get to me a little bit the last couple of years because everyone was like, "You're a great pro-am player. You haven't won a tour event, or you've been close, but you haven't got over the line." Then to get over the line in Darwin was pretty huge for me because it gave me that self-belief, and then it kind of just got monkey off the back, and also got people like not saying that anymore. Like,
yeah,
now you're not just a pro-am player, sort of thing.
Yeah. So how like obviously there's that pressure from other people saying like you need to win an event. You're a great player, like you're a great pro-am player, which I don't personally like. It's like you're still a good golfer. Like you're still a great golfer.
Exactly right.
Like it's still the same game. It's not like we're playing a different game from day to day. It's just we're playing at one course for 4 days, and I happen to be the best over 4 days. It doesn't make any difference if you win four pro-ams in a row. You're still a great player. So
exactly right.
that outside pressure, how obviously silencing it by winning, but like how did you have the courage to do that? And I guess is different for everyone.
Darwin, you're talking about?
Yeah, Darwin. Sorry, yeah.
I don't know. It was just a week that came together. Like I was playing really well going into the event, like really well. I think I'd won a bunch of pro-ams leading into it. And I just felt really good with the golf swing, right? I just knew I was hitting it really, really good, like some of the best ball striking I've done in my whole career. So going to Darwin, I've had like a bit of success there in the past, or showed glimpses of playing really well there in the past, back in the NT Open days as an amateur, and then a couple of times in the tour event where I've had good rounds, but I haven't put it all together. And then last year I was just playing so well. I was just like, right, you're hitting it that good on this golf course. If you hit it well, you'll give yourself a ton of opportunities. So you don't need to be holding a lot of putts. You just know that the ball strike will get you through this week, and if you're thereabouts, you'll have a chance. And then it kind of all just came together in that last round, where I got to a really good start, birdie start, and that kind of put me in the lead straight away from 3 shots behind, I think it was. And then from there, I was kind of able to dictate the tournament a little bit because I knew, okay, right, you're in the lead, just keep making pars. Eventually, you're going to get some really good opportunities for birdies. Take them, and you should be sweet. And I end up giving myself some good opportunities coming home, and end up doing it really easy. And it was really weird last year because I picked up my first 4-day pro-am tournament win, and I went into basically cruised for most of that round, except for about 5 holes there in that back nine when you pushed the hammer down and forced it on me. And then, and I think I ended up winning by 3 maybe or something like that. And then NT Open, haven't won a tour event, been close, lost to the playoff before, and then to come in the last with like a 4 or 5 shot lead, it was kind of like, it was really easy in the end to get the win. You know what I mean? It wasn't like had to hold like a 12-footer on the last to win, or had to make an impressive up and down. It was kind of just like hit the fairway, hit the green, 2 putt, and It was really interesting and really weird the way those two events, the two wins came about last year.
Well, yeah, you definitely take the win regardless, but like obviously doing it with a couple of shots lead down the last is what you want to do. You know, you've got the job done before, and you can enjoy the walk. That's kind of
Yeah,
tell everyone.
100%. And it's more enjoyable, right? When you're going in the last knowing you're going to win, it's so much more enjoyable to walk down. There's no stress, right? There's
Mm.
no nerves or anything. You're just like, fuck yeah, how good is this? I've done it. Like I can just enjoy what's happening. And I
Yeah.
definitely was able to do that in Lay and Darwin. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah, no, it's cool. It's cool to see your mates win. Just especially because I think I've always thought about it. If you played your best and they came out on top on the day, that's kudos to them. It's like you
Yeah,
never want to see anyone lose it. That's kind of
100%.
like you're both playing well, go head to head. On the day, just go for it. That's kind of
Oh,
how it is.
100%. Yeah. I think most golfers in Australia are like that too. You know,
Mm,
you want to go up against your best mates, you want to beat them, but at the same time, hey, if you go out there and you play you just play better and I can't match it, well then, hey, you deserve it and kudos to you and congratulations kind of thing, you know. So
yeah, I think that's
it's
the best thing about golf, really.
yeah, it is. You can battle it with your mates on the course and then you can have a beer with them afterwards. It's a
Yeah,
pretty cool
and
sport to be involved in.
definitely bring it up later. Have a bit of a yarn about what were you thinking on this show. I think you got lucky with that. This probably this, and that. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's obviously a lot funner having a beer with someone after when you went head to head with him. But yeah, it's going to be getting back to current times. It's going to be an interesting time ahead, especially because we both don't have international status. Even if
Mm,
we did, we'd have to kind of pack up the clubs and bags and move overseas because our borders are shut for a little bit of the
yeah.
time. There's been a lot of news about events being cancelled, and they're trying to get 9 events over the line. Yeah, it's PJ's in a tough spot right now. The players even more so. How have you been keeping positive in Queensland?
In general, I'm a really laid back kind of guy. So not a lot of things stress me out. Like I'm
Mm,
always like, oh, I'll be right. Like things will turn around and we'll be fine. But I found the last couple of weeks pretty stressful.
mm,
Um, and I've been questioning a lot of things. Like basically last week during Darwin, I was basically questioning whether this is my last tournament as a professional golfer. Like
mm,
with all these cancellations happening in the next 3 to 4 months, that's my only source of income. Um, and not knowing where that source of income could be coming from, those questions started to arise. So
mm.
yeah, really don't know where I kind of stand at the moment, to be honest. I'm kind of just hoping that the next couple of months, if I'm patient enough, things will turn around for us. But yeah, last couple of weeks haven't been that great, to be honest. It's probably the first time in my life where I've actually questioned what I'm doing and what I want to do going forward.
Yeah, it's a tricky situation. I think a lot of people living in Victoria, like these conversations were had in April, May, just obviously because we're stuck, inside and like reflecting on everything and questioning
Mm,
what I'm going to do with my life. Like that, those
mhm.
questions were definitely had by myself, and they're big questions. Especially being a touring
Ah,
professional. A lot of these opportunities obviously gone for a
yeah.
while, and it's how important, like for me it's been to rely on friends and family and like this
Mm.
fantasy football leagues where kind of
Oh
able.
yeah, that's definitely been distracting for me. I'm having in one league I'm killing it, and the other one I'm horrendous. So it's yeah, made some
Poor
made
decisions.
one injury, made one bad decision, one bad trade after, and it's basically ruined my whole season. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's been good. It's been good having two leagues and being distracted and watching NFL. So my Mondays is just NFL Mondays now. So which is awesome. But yeah, I don't know, man. Like I don't know what the next 12 months is going to look like here in Australia, and I feel like we're going to lose a lot of good quality professional golfers in the next 6 months just because people can't afford to wait around any longer.
Mm. It's probably spot on the mark there. I think a lot of people are going to have to make that decision as a business, thinking, well, it's not viable to play a 2K Pro-Am, what they're kind of doing sweepstakes
Mhm.
at the moment, kind of proposing that. I think before 11K Pro-Ams, it was kind of like, unless there's a run of
Borderline.
them, I'm going to do it. But without a without enough events to complement a full Pro-Am schedule, it is for Australian golfers right now. It's a question whether I go into a bridging and become a coach,
Yep.
or I get a real job, and in 4 or 5 years when this all bounces back, I decide to give it a go again,
Correct.
or I just want to live my life in Australia and live the dream.
Yeah. And it's not like we have the option to go overseas and play other tours, because most of the other tours besides Europe and the US aren't running, and we can't even get out of the country really. Like, we kind of just, it's kind of like we got the handcuffs on and we can't do much.
Yeah, it's a tricky spot. It's a tricky spot. I'm
Yes.
trying to stay positive, but kind of prepare for the worst, and kind of see what happens at the end of it.
Yeah.
But we just got to try to stay positive. I think
We
same.
do. And like the last 2 weeks have been a bit rough, but I also have, I think I mentioned to you before we started the
Mm,
podcast, I spoke with Feltz a couple of days ago, and I came out feeling a lot better about things after talking to Kim Felton than I did before. So
mm.
um, it sounds like the boys are working really hard. I feel for them. Like, it's
Oh,
easy to judge them on what they're doing and the lack of events and whatever, but they're in a situation that I'd hate to be in and trying to fix, because where do you go? Like, what do you do? Um, yeah, I think for me, I just got to try and be patient next couple of months and see what happens.
yeah, absolutely. They're doing the best with what they've been dealt with. That's kind of
Yeah,
trying to kind of sum it up that way. I think the best two people are in their position right now to get
I
us
agree.
ride us out of this. Obviously,
Yeah, I
because they've
agree.
been on this side of the fence, and they've got a
Yeah,
new outlook on life. I think that is, but it's a tough spot. I definitely wouldn't
yeah,
want
it
to be
is.
on their shoes, or a premier of a
No,
state or anything like
I
that
wouldn't.
right now.
I'm glad it's those two guys that are doing it, because I feel like they will get it done. I feel like I've got a lot of confidence in those two guys getting it done, whereas I might not have had that same confidence going 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago.
And
So
I think that's pretty universal across the players. I think most
yeah,
players,
I agree.
majority of players feel that way, that
Yeah,
okay, it's a pretty tough situation for them and for us, but they have the best chance of leading us out of this, and they are definitely open themselves up to be sounding boards, and offering services for our mental health and everything like that as well. And Australia as a whole is pretty good at offering all those services as well.
yeah. And these two guys are the only two guys that I've ever had since I've been a pro that have actually reached out and you know seeing how we're going and getting our thoughts on stuff or questions that they might have. Whereas
Hmm.
I've never had anyone in the past call me up and see how I'm going, or what they can do to help our situation out. So um, that in itself for me is pretty important
Yeah, it's
and shows a lot of their character, right?
yeah, absolutely. Like, be transparent, take it front on, and just be
Yeah,
open and honest with us. That's all we can hope
yeah,
for. And
yeah,
it's I was actually went on a walk before, and I was thinking about amateurs. Like, what would an elite amateur do right now? Say you're top 50 in the world in Australia, and you've got a few opportunities to play overseas, and you're thinking, I was going to turn pro this year. What do you do? Like, what do you tell that
yeah.
player?
Probably hold on for 12 months.
Yeah,
Uh, it's actually interesting because where I practice at Brisbane Golf Club is an amateur by the name of Laurie Flynn, like
yeah.
big, tall. He
Play with him at the Aussie
plays,
Open. Good player.
yeah, he plays. He's a great player. Hits it really good. Good kid. And like before COVID, I would have said to him, mate, turn pro now. Like, go to the end of the year, we'll play out the rest of the year as an amateur, play the US amateur, whatever you want to do, and then just turn pro and get in there as soon as you can, because you'll learn more playing tour events as a pro than you will continue as an amateur.
Mm.
But now after COVID, with no events to play in, they're probably playing more events than we are, to be honest. Like,
Mm.
so I'd probably tell him just hang on for 12 months and stay as an amateur and keep playing some high performance stuff, and then maybe look at going professional. But yeah, what do you do? Like, what do you?
What do you tell the kids? even with the like coaches and stuff, like what are they like relaying to the players saying, yeah, get
Mm,
ready for Q schools because Q schools have been wiped out for like
yeah,
this year and next year. That kind of looks like it's going to be the theme for a little while now. Just keep getting better. I think golf's that's the big thing. You've still got to keep getting better. You've got
yeah,
this time to kind of work on yourself, work on everything around your
yeah,
life that needs to get back up to par or get ahead of
yeah,
whether it's
100%.
study. That's kind of what I've chosen to do, or you
Yeah,
do your bridging, or I think a lot of people will eventually make that decision. It's kind of it's frustrating. This is what I came to was it's frustrating that this isn't a decision that I've made on my terms. It's like
yeah, I agree.
it's been a forced decision. I think a lot of people, especially in Australia, like because our borders are shut and stuff like that, that's the most frustrating part.
Yeah, I agree totally. Like, I always thought the decision for me, like I haven't got to that point where I'm gonna make that decision just yet. But I always thought the decision for me when my time was done playing golf was because of two reasons. I'm not enjoying it, and I can't financially keep doing this because I'm not playing well enough, or I'm just not good enough, right?
Mm,
But with COVID, I actually feel like I've been playing my best golf of my career the last 2 years.
mm,
Had so many opportunities lined up this year with Q schools exemptions because of auto merit standing from last year, and potentially a couple of events in Europe I was going to play. So
mm.
we've gone from this career that was sort of peaking and going in the right direction and having plenty of opportunities to having no opportunities and also feeling like the game has deteriorated um, quite a bit in the last 6 to 8 months just because I haven't been playing tournament stock like
Oh,
playing high pressure sort of golf. Whereas just
yeah.
playing your local club comp, it just doesn't do it for you, right?
Yeah, I think your skills will still be there, but it's that's
Yeah,
that pressure, that intensity, that high
yeah,
level. I think, probably the closest thing with club comps is just money gains with like good play, like high performance players, but it's not quite that level where you just need to be sharp. But
yeah,
it's 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 a shitty hand, and we've all
yeah,
been dealt it. It's just
yeah,
kind of like
100%.
we've just got to get through it, and like
Yeah,
some days are going to be better than others, and
yeah,
that's
sure.
literally it. Like I think until we can get past 2020, it'll be like, all right, 2021. I think once a vaccine's like announced and like
I
they're,
agree.
they're rolling it out, it's like, okay, perfect. Now we just need to
So,
avoid a civil war in the US and we're good to go. No.
yeah, man, you know what? Is isn't it amazing the last 6 months, the countries that are on top of it and are running well, how well they've done with COVID.
Mm,
And you look at the US, and the US is a great country, and I got a lot of friends over there, but this is it's really broken that country, hasn't it? The last 6 months with COVID, it's brought out the worst in people over there. It brought the worst out in some of people here with toilet paper and Karens and stuff like that. But the US especially, they're tearing themselves apart because they're just flawed in a way. The way their country works is flawed, and it's just not they're not dealing with it very well at all.
yeah, you've spent a lot of time over there as well, and they're just the systems set up here, were meant like not meant for, were able to cope with something like this happening. Obviously, they
Yeah,
had to, write in JobKeeper stuff and all these different legislation overnight and all these other things. But the no one's on the street. They've kind of put stuff on like that. Everyone's accessible to a COVID test. Everyone's blah
yeah,
blah 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 blah. But and like
yeah,
there, it just seems especially because it's an election year, it just the world stops when it's an election
yeah,
year over there. That's what I noticed. I was there for the last one. It's a surreal feeling, especially I was in Texas and it's yeah it's the tensions are high, and you throw COVID
yeah.
in there and it's just
They've just got a lot. Their mentality is a lot different to ours as well. Like they're all about their individual freedom, right? They're not.
as
They
a
don't.
collective. Yeah.
Yeah, they're not. They don't really think other people's freedoms. They're more worried about themselves and my freedoms and what I can do. I don't care really what other people can do, sort of thing. But here in Australia, we're more mindful of other people's situations. So, when you get a virus like COVID, it's easy for us to go, right, well, we got to do what's best for everyone, not just the individual. Whereas I feel like in the US, they sort of really struggle with that. They don't like being told what to do. Their amendment, their Fifth Amendment, all that kind of stuff that they live and breathe by. I think that's been the core issue for them. I could be totally wrong, but that's just kind of my
Yeah, I
thoughts on
mean,
it all.
yeah, we've all kind of seen it portrayed through the media right now with what's all going on, and
Yeah.
it's I think it just comes back to I just feel so lucky being here. I honestly
Oh, 100%.
just
Yeah.
feel very, even though our careers have been decimated for the time being,
Yeah.
they may bounce back quicker than we're kind of preparing ourselves for. But at
Yeah.
the end of the day, we're safe, safe here, healthy. My
Yeah.
parents and family and friends are healthy. Everyone's going well. Everyone, not like that's it goes down to core values and core what's
Yeah, for
important
sure.
to you. And yeah, I think it's an interesting place to be in the US right now. I feel for Curtis, especially over there in the US,
Yeah.
playing on the Corn Ferry and just
Yeah.
all the protocols that are in place. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's an interesting.
It's interesting that because Australia's doing so well with COVID, I feel like they could potentially reach out to the US and Europe and be like, the government be like, right, you guys are still going through all these protocols and stuff, and you're all getting cases and what have you. We got Australia that if we can send a whole bunch of players over here and have a tour for like 6 months, we're in a country that no international travel is allowed unless you have permission by the government and you can get some sort of exemption for US tour players or European tour players. You could potentially maybe run a tour down here for 6 months where you're away from COVID. I don't know, just an idea. It's kind of like we got
There's a
a great
huge
country.
idea. Yeah.
We're doing pretty well with COVID, especially with Victoria now getting on top of things. So
Mm.
no reason why we couldn't run a tour down here and I don't know, get some money into the tour and get some guys playing events. Like I
Wow.
feel like there's something that could potentially happen if the government got on board with it.
It's a big play. Great idea. I think selling it to American players to
Yeah,
leave the country though would be tough because
yeah,
they love their home ground advantage and playing
yeah.
in their places. But
It's
yeah, I
so
think
comfortable there too, right?
they love it. They love it. I even noticed a bit over there. You just I'll stay in Texas. I'll do my thing here. Like leaving the state. Why would I do that? But
Yeah,
well, we can't not have a chat about why you're wearing a Carson Wentz jersey. You're obviously a Philadelphia Eagle
yeah,
supporter, die
yeah.
hard,
Love it.
die
Yeah,
hard.
for sure.
I've
16 years I've been following them.
wow,
Yeah.
wow. You've seen
I
a
got so
Super
the
Bowl in
reason
there.
I got into the Eagles was back in 2004 when they were doing pretty well, and they just signed. I think it was the first season they had Terrell Owens,
Yep, yep.
and I remember seeing highlights of him on like ESPN and just some American shows. You know how they do. They're all about it, and I was like, this guy is awesome. I love the Eagles emblem. I'm going to get on these guys. End up going to the Super Bowl. I got lucky that year. They ended up going to the Super Bowl, but they lost to the Patriots.
Mm.
So my hatred for the Patriots grew that day. And then, yeah, I've been following the Eagles ever since.
Wow. Yeah, I've definitely seen that throughout the group chat. We're just in the fantasy group chat. It's been really with this whole year. I think I've had a couple of fantasy like basketball and football. It's been probably the best thing that this year has provided, just because the banter between friends across different states, and you like
Yeah, 100%.
we're playing each other in another league this week, and it's just like, all right, who's he got in his team? And I'll shoot
Yeah,
you a little message, and there's all little digs with each other, and there's other people
100%.
commentating on everyone's games, and
Yeah,
it's been great. It's honestly been really, really good this year, and it'll go further into next year with Super Coach and all these other.
100%.
And yeah, I think that's one huge positive. A lot of friends and people have got a lot closer, and
Yeah, for
it's made
sure.
this it's cushioned the blow, I guess.
Yeah.
Cushion the.
It's social media can have its place. And this year's been awesome for people like us and guys like you in Victoria where you can't go and talk to your mates, whereas at least you got group chats and stuff that you can use to still kind of stay sane.
Yeah, well, it just that connection that, kind
Yeah,
of, especially because when we were just only an hour a day outside, it was kind of like, wow, I'm kind of stuck in here. Like who, and I FaceTime my parents, FaceTime my friends all the time. And it's,
yeah,
it's not so much of a gap. Like we went and saw some
yeah,
friends last week and we hadn't seen them in 4 months and it didn't feel as far away as it sounds because we'd seen
yeah,
them a lot,
100%.
through your phone, Snapchat or
Yeah,
Instagram or whatever it is. But yeah, that's one huge positive for 2020.
yeah, 100%. It's definitely, you know what's going on with them. You're talking to them regularly, so 4 months feels like a week.
Mm, absolutely, absolutely. Who's going to win the NFC East? Is it going to be the Eagles? They're going to, with a losing
Yeah,
record, win the East.
yeah, I think the Eagles. I think they've got a pretty good defense. Well, they got the best defense in that division, and they've been riding on top of that the last few weeks. Even against really good teams, they've done pretty well. We're a very battered team. Like we're missing
You
three
don't
or
have a,
four O line,
yeah,
3 or 4 offensive linemen. We've got no wide receivers, but in that time, we've also found a couple of guys in Fulgrim that's coming out. He looks like he could be a potential star. So,
mm,
and we're starting to get some pieces back. I think we've got Dallas Goddard back this week.
yep,
Um, who else was coming back? Someone else. Someone else was coming back. I think we've got about 2 or 3 guys coming back.
I think Jeffrey's a couple of weeks away still, but
He's still a few weeks away. Boston Scott, he's a gun. I think we'll get Miles Sanders back next week or the week after the bye, whatever it was.
yep.
I just feel like we're a more rounded team than the other
Oh,
teams in our division. Dallas,
no defense. See you later.
no defense, and they're on their third string quarterback. Like that's never a good recipe for
No, they're done.
an NFL team. So and they're missing their O line. So you got a third string quarterback with no O line. Like good luck to you, mate. You the best quarterback in the league with no O line can't play,
You might
let
as well
alone a
put
third stringer.
you might as well put Zeke in at quarterback. That's kind of how I'm seeing it.
That's it. And you can see like with no O line, Zeke's struggling as well. So all great teams are built on their two lines, so defensive line and the offensive line. If you don't have those two lines, you're basically going to struggle. So whereas I feel like we've got a pretty good defensive line, our O line is okay. It's holding up enough for Wentz to be able to do some stuff, but I don't think we'll go far. Like we might win the East, but we won't. We'll
Nah,
struggle for the
nah.
playoffs.
It's going to be an interesting year. I'm sure there'll be more COVID things going on there. They'll cancel games and all sorts of stuff. But who
If we
knows?
can get healthy, I think we might make some noise, but we haven't been healthy since we won the Super Bowl. So
Yeah. And when you had Nick Foles, but that's another
yeah,
story.
exactly right.
That's another
Yeah,
story.
that is a story.
Well, how was actually, before we get to the one question, how was the AFL Grand Final? How was it having it in Queensland? How was it well received?
Yeah, it was
Well
awesome.
received.
Like it was well. I wasn't in Queensland for it, unfortunately, but it was a lot of excitement, a lot of hype for locals,
Mm,
especially where I am in Camp Hill. We're only about 3 kilometres from the Gabba, so we're pretty
mm.
close. Um, a lot of my friends had tickets to go. They're all pretty excited about it, and there was a lot more interest just watching the game itself because it was at the Gabba.
Mm,
A couple of friends that went said it was awesome.
yeah.
Um, Obviously, it'll never be anything like the MCG with 110,000 people, but in the situation that we are in the scenario with COVID, I think they did a pretty good job with it.
Still great to see fans. Honestly, just seeing fans at any event or even outside together is
Oh yeah, 100%.
different for a Victorian. But it was great to see a full house. It's a shame that my Eagles weren't in there, but a Victorian
Yeah,
team can
well, I
win.
was disappointed the Lions, and we went to the prelim, the Lions Geelong game,
Oh no,
and
yeah.
oh mate, that last quarter, I don't think I said one word. I was so disappointed. And then the next morning, I honestly felt like there was a death in the family. I was like mourning because I was like, I did not see this happening. I saw us going to the grand final at the Gabba, like get better, and then winning it potentially.
Oh,
But then to lose the way we did, I was like, this sucks, man. This is so shit.
mate, that's what it feels like to be a fan of a team and actually love it. That's how I
No,
that's how I take it. My Texans are going to suck for the next 10 years. It feels like, but I've got the Eagles. I've got the West Coast Eagles, so
Yep.
it'll be fine. But yeah, hopefully we can get over to Perth and actually watch them in person. But that seems like a different world away for sure.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, absolute pleasure, Brett. Thanks for joining me tonight.
Oh,
I
my pleasure, man. It's enjoyable.
like to round these sessions out with a one question. You can ask me anything you like, anything you've ever wondered or thought, well, I've got to, if I get the chance to ask him, I'll ask him that. But fire away, mate.
It's a tough one. I'm just going to ask you a simple one. Um, I'll make it to best tournament you've ever played and favorite golf course in the world.
Ooh, best tournament. Best tournament I have ever played.
Or best win or whatever.
Oh, I take wins away. Probably more enjoyable when you have like a top 10 and you kind of had a real social week. Maybe that's probably, I don't know, but probably my most favorite event I played. I'm trying to think. Canada was pretty fun when I went up there. Latino America was just a blast, but it was too humid, so I was kind of a bit on the fence there. Always like going to Guatemala. That was always a fun week, but always
right.
played really, really bad. So I can't say that week. Um, I'd say congressional. Actually, I'll go with
Oh, that's
congressional.
cool.
Yeah, when I finished 24th on a PGA Tour event, I was four off the lead going to the last round. I made the turn and I was only four back, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm like here, hit my best
Yeah.
shot on 11, like hit this 5-iron, hit the best 5-iron I've ever hit, and it went one bounce over the back, and I made bogey, and I was like, you know those shots you just hit, and you're like, that's got to be perfect, and
Yeah.
I was like, there's no way this ball can go long, and it went long, and I was like, oh, obviously adrenaline, like
Yeah.
whatever it like.
There's nothing worse than hitting what you think is the perfect golf shot and then making bogey from it. It's just the
Oh,
worst feeling because you're like, I feel like I did everything in my power then to give myself a chance for a birdie, make par at worst, not make bogey. Like,
and it's one of those really, I think 11 at Congressional is it's one of the toughest par fours on the tour for the whole. Every time they play there, it's like top five. It's like really, really hard. It's like 520 yards, water down the right, tough drive, weird
yeah,
green. It's really,
it's the
really
money.
tough. And I hit this 5-iron, like hit a great drive, hit this 5-iron, and yeah, went over the back. But it's funny, I've done that a couple of times now. I've under the pump, and I've hit really good shots that have flown the green. So maybe there's a bit of adrenaline factor in there I need to factor in. But
Isn't it amazing how vivid we remember just random things from tournaments,
yeah,
whether good weeks, bad weeks? It's crazy how vivid you can be on what the 11th hole of a tournament years ago. It's crazy.
oh yeah, it sticks. It definitely sticks with you. I can actually still feel that 5-iron. It was like a 3/4 little hold up draw, wind off the left, pin on the left. It's a great shot. Just flew the green, made five, and
Um,
I think I doubled the last, and it cost me 100K. But you know, don't worry
oh,
about that. But I was, you kind of laugh about it now. It was a bit like,
yeah,
oh,
yeah.
geez, I just. Anyways, second part of the question: favorite course I've played. Favorite course. Gosh, well, I'm lucky at PK now. North, I get to see it when I can get there. But favorite course, I really like Sahali Country Club because I just
I've heard it's
such
amazing.
a good time every time I go. It's like if you don't like tree line golf courses, you'll hate it because it's
Yeah,
literally 10 yards wide every hole in it, like dog
heard
legs.
that.
And but I love it. It's like northwest up in America, and I know this family, the Ratslaffs, just stay on the course and they drive across, and we played 72 holes a day, and it's such a good time. Like,
They do it well over in the US with, especially back in the amateur days with national squad and stuff. And you go play tournaments over there in the US, they look after you so well. The hospitality was second to none. You'd have so much fun those weeks.
yeah, it's
Wish
just
we had more of that as tour stops.
well, maybe we'll go back amateur for a couple of years and then get our world ranking points up that way, then turn professional with an invite into the Masters. I don't know. That just I'm throwing conspiracies out there.
US mid amateur maybe try and go for that, win that, and go to the Masters.
Well, I told Lucas, I played with him just before he left, and I said it's the easiest way to get to the Masters. Like
Oh,
you're playing with
100%.
people who are have jobs and stuff. Like you've just finished your degree, you'll be good to go, and
Yeah.
then he won it. So I'm claiming that I talked him into it, but Um, yeah, so Harley, definitely one of my favorites. It's funny, I had a vivid memory of it as an amateur, and I thought, geez, if I ever get the chance to go back and I can save enough cash, I'll definitely go. So he was turning 50 last year, and I flew over and went for a week, and it was honestly better than I remember. And I thought, this is the
Wow.
yeah. But one of my friends, well, Dale Brant Richards had a hole in
Oh,
one the
yeah.
first day we were there, and
What?
it was honestly the worst thing that could have happened because everyone over there is like hole in one, and then it's like then it just explodes. Everyone's social and
Yeah.
yeah, that's probably why I like the place so much. It's just very everyone gets around good golf. Like
Yeah, they do. They do, and they don't care where you're from. They don't have that tall poppy syndrome like they do here in the in Australia.
yeah,
They're all about it over there.
yeah, they love it. Love their sport. But yeah,
Mhm.
that's definitely one of my favorite courses. I really look forward to getting back there, and I'll probably actually try next time I go back there, I'll try and go watch the Seahawks. That'll be my
That'd
next
be
thing.
cool. That stadium would be sick to go to and watch them. They're so loud there.
Yeah, I've been on a boat around it, like Washington, kind
Oh,
of went
really?
up and around and had a look. It's such a cool looking stadium, but yeah, the
Oh,
noise is just like would be out of this world because University of Washington's right next to it, and and their stadium's like just as big.
oh,
So,
yeah.
but yeah, we can
They do it
reminisce
well.
on
They do it really well over there with their sports. I'm very
yeah
jealous
yeah
and envious of them.
yeah talking about traveling and going to sporting events. I'll just settle for dinner tonight, but that's kind of where my
Yeah,
values.
don't look too far too far up there, mate.
Yeah, but that's where I'm looking at right now. But we can strive for something greater eventually soon. But yeah,
Yeah.
been great, Rankin. Hopefully, I can put up a good score in fantasy this week and give you a run for your money. But I think I'm right up against it this week. But thanks for
I'm
the
liking
chat.
my I'm liking my chances this week. I like my team.
Oh wow. Okay. Well, thanks again. Really enjoyed it.
Sweet, mate.
See you, mate.
Cheers.